Welcome back here with us on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. January 27, 2022 is a historic day for Indian aviation. Air India, that had taken India's name to the skies, has gone back to its original parent. NDA government formally handed over the airline to Tata Group today. It was founded by J.R.D. Tata in 1932 as Tata Airlines from a small cabin with a palm-thatched roof at the Juhu Aerodrome in what was then Bombay. By 1953, India took over Air India. The man who murdered the airline was ousted from Air India's cockpit by the short-lived, unwieldy Morarji Desai government. It hit unrelenting pockets of turbulence as incompetent, corrupt and self-serving Sarkari hands started piloting the airlines. J.R.D. Tata was allowed to stay as chairman for some time. And then, in 2007, came the mother of all blows. The Manmohan Singh government merged Air India, or AI, and Indian Airlines, or IA. Air India's fortunes nosedived. Then in 2000, first attempt was made to sell it, but Vajpayee government did not want to let go of it completely. Then in 2017, Modi government tried to sweeten the deal. There were no takers. Finally, with debt level crossing 60,000 crore rupees, seeing the Maharaja gasping for breath, Modi government in December 2020 took a decision to sell it off completely. And on January 27, 2022, finally, life has come full circle for Air India. It has gone back to where it belonged. Tata Group has paid 2,700 crore in cash and taken over debt of 15,300 crores and have promised golden age for Air India. And on this evening, we are joined by former Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. A Gajapathi Raju. Sir, thank you very much for speaking with us here on Mirror Now this evening. You've been the aviation minister under whom the process of selling the Maharaja began. What are your thoughts today, sir?
Well, I'm happy that Air India has a chance of survival. See, it's a beautiful airline, hardworking people around. In fact, its EBITDA was all positive. The thing that was pulling it down was its financials. The interest rates were really eating it up. So I am happy that an airline like that has a chance of survival now. Of course, aviation has also changed a lot, but still, it's a very competitive market, and it has to. And it's a nice thing for any Indian. We would like Air India to survive. So I guess that is what first comes into mind. Next, of course, Tatas have had experience with aviation. In fact, they started it. So chances of Air India's survival increase. So this is a good thing.
Mr. Ashok Gajapathi Raju, when you started the process in 2017, did you feel at any point that it could actually go back to the Tata Group?
You see, the possibility was there that it could go to anyone. It is not only the Tatas as such. And there are no bakaras in the market who are willing to pay more than what it is worth. So a lot of debt had to be kind of parked elsewhere. In fact, a lot of assets were there. At that time, we suggested, because there were a lot of artwork, for instance, we had suggested that this should be given to a museum. This is national wealth. So I think they must have done it that way. So basically, aviation connected assets and assets not really connected with aviation, they had to be divided, and liabilities had to be in such a way where any reasonable economic activity could pay it. Otherwise, it was a drain on the taxpayers' money, and that was not correct. Hardworking people, yes, they had worked it in such a way that I have seen this also, that there were no operating losses of any kind. It was the financials, in the sense, the interest rates, that really pulled Air India down. And India has suffered a lot because of that.
Was 18,000 crore the right price for, airline like Air India, or will you call it a distress sale?
You see, the first thing, the airline was in distress only, you can say. Financially, it was in a distress. So, airline-wise, one angle of it. Next is we are dealing with businessmen who are hard-nosed businessmen. They are not bakras ready for slaughter. So that's not going to happen anyway. So one angle is they would have done their homework properly, I guess. They would have done their due diligence and they would have come to a conclusion. Now, what is low, what is high at this length of time from this distance to say is very difficult. But if it was the whole thing went competitively, it's a good thing. And actually, Air India surviving is something that really warms every Indian's heart, because Air India is something that all Indians have been associated in some form or the other.
Now, with Air India going back to the Tata Group, do you see glorious days of Air India coming back?
You see, Tatas are a very good business group, and Air India's chances of survival have been multiplied in that sense. So I would think the chances of survival are good. Now with the, say, COVID situation worldwide, what is the impact on aviation, things like this? These angles also have to be thought of. In our country, domestic aviation, if you look at it, taxation had been eating up into the vitals of aviation. Traditionally, it was considered a rich man's transport and was taxed very high. Unfortunately, that culture continued. So that's why aviation had a setback in our country, where states and the government of India have realized that taxation ought to be brought into a reasonable framework, like our Udan scheme, for instance. That has been a success in our country. Destinations have opened up, things like that have happened. And that also, those of us who had the good fortune of working in aviation with all this are happy to see this. Though I'm not there individually, physically right now, but I'm happy about all these things because chances of survival have increased and connectivity has increased. So these are good things, and I hope it will work well in the future.
During the first attempt, when you tried to sell Air India, was there any interest shown by the Tata Group?
You see, interest was there. And if you look at it right from the beginning, one of the first letters I remember that we got was from Indigo about our international operations. They were interested in the international operations of Air India. So like that, different airlines had different types of approaches. It doesn't really matter now. But whatever it is, we hope, and the chances of its survival have definitely increased. Tata's has a reputation. So that reputation and the work culture, I'm sure, will help Air India survive and probably start gaining ground. I won't say it will come back immediately to its original position pre-nationalization and things like that. But that type of eminence is always possible if one takes the right financial decisions and goes ahead. The unfortunate thing in government is that decision making is not done as an economic consideration. Decision making is done differently. Therefore, governments are slightly, you can say, not capable of handling competitive businesses. So in that sense, it's a good thing that has happened. And let us see, the future will tell us whether this is right or wrong, and in which areas it is right, which areas it is wrong.
So, in your opinion, for the Tata Group with respect to Air India, what could be the few challenges, say, in the first phase?
I guess now first thing will be to motivate the staff to work as a team. As long as Air Indian staff works as a team, it will deliver. It has delivered. There are times that Air India has been in time, flown in time and things like that. There are times also where it has been delayed inordinately. So there are times that it's flying through rough weather turbulence, smooth flights, it's things like that. But generally, economic conditions are important. And because to sustain an airline, you need the economics to do it. And I think Air India has got it right this time.
And last question before we let you go, Mr. A Gajapathi Raju. Tata Group already has Vistara, Air Asia. Now it's got Air India as well as Air India Express. We don't know what will happen to all these airlines and how Tata Group really plans to operate them. But what will be your suggestion?
You see, it is for the Tatas to decide what they would like to do in what time framework. First of all, the legal frameworks have to be looked into. And then the economic frameworks, the sustainability, all these angles, they will be working it out. But whatever the decision, the airline surviving is good news for all of us. And we wish the airline well.
All right, Mr. A Gajapathi Raju, former Civil Aviation Minister, speaking exclusively to Mirror Now. On a day, the Air India Maharaja has gone back to the Tata Group. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking with us. Heading into a short break. Stay with us.